Whoa, so here we are. I think this is number 8 of Matt's Chats and another transatlantic call. Very, very privileged today to be in the company of greatness, and we are in the company of greatness, in a magnificent singer, in the shape and form of Patrick Stone, who sings with Budderside and has been around the blocks, even roadie for Motorhead at one point. But it's a great pleasure. So good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Patrick, how you doing?
Fantastic. I couldn't be feeling any better than speaking to a member of Rancid, and the respect is mutual and much appreciated. So excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. So before we go any further, what's the weather like in California at the moment?
Raining like crazy today and yesterday, and pretty much since about 2 weeks before the new year. It's actually the most rain I've ever seen since I've lived here, and I've been here over 30 years. So
wow. Yeah,
it's a lot of rain. It's been flooding, and I always say that like we need it. It's always beautiful to see how green this desert, California, Los Angeles turns after a good rain. So I expect to see a pretty damn beautiful spring. But right now we got some rain. It's clearing up a little bit. I think we might have some sunshine this week, but it's been pretty rainy. It's been pretty gloomy. I kind of like that.
Makes me feel great. We've had about been raining cats and dogs, as we say over here. We've had about what they always say, like 10 meters of sort of rain in the last, I don't know, week and a half, or since records began, as they like to say. But it's a very British thing to do to start off with the weather. That's why I can't like to. Then we're going to get on to other things, because you have been at the heart of the Hollywood scene for many years. And what is very impressive about you, and which a lot of people probably don't know, is that you actually roadied for Motorhead. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. I had a girlfriend that was pretty much best friends with Lem. They hung out constantly, and falling in love with her and her falling in love with me lended itself to a few hangouts. And there was a lot of debauchery and partying Fantastic. Going on, surrounding all of that. It was chaos, mayhem, and I enjoyed that. So I fit right in with his whole crew. One day I was over at his pad, and I was telling him that I had a knack for jewelry. Like I'd got taken a lot of classes and courses, and I had some machinery at home that was used for jewelry and cleaning up stuff like that. So he handed me a couple of, like, 3 dirt clods, about a handful each. And I didn't know what was in them. He said, "Do me a favor and clean these up and bring them back to me." And I brought them home, and I started to clean them up very carefully. And underneath the mud was these bayonets, 3 bayonets from World War II, kind of very valuable pieces. So I shined them up and got them looking like brand new and brought them back to him, at which point I think he trusted me and was very happy with the results. So when it came time for they needed a roadie, they got a phone call. One guy couldn't come over from overseas as something was wrong with his visa. So Phil turned to me after the phone call, finding out his guy couldn't come, and said, "You want to come out and be our guitar tech?" I said, "Fuck yeah, let's go."
Yeah.
And off we went.
That's great. You say your jewelry. I literally had a piece of jewelry made for me this week. Havisham Jewels, she said to me, "Do you mind if I design you a piece of jewelry?" And she made me this with with my hair on it. And I was so impressed. I've only just taken it off after being wearing it for about 2 weeks. It's lovely. I think jewelry's a really impressive thing, actually. I think that's quite a talent you've got there, if that's what you're involved with. So it went from there. You roaded for them, and were you already performing in bands yourself? Were you already singing? What's the score with that?
Well, yeah. I mean, since I was 5 years old, I was tugging at my father's pant leg and telling him I wanted to be a rock star. My sister used to cut my hair like Billy Idol's, because he was pretty much my biggest when I was that age. I would rummage through her record collection, Highway to Hell, and a lot of Journey records, Rolling Stones, Judas Priest, stuff like that. I would sit around in her bedroom listening to records over and over again, and I just wanted to be that. So yeah, I think I think I was the lead in a play in school. It was a musical, so that was like my first taste of memorizing lines, getting in front of a crowd, and I guess I nailed it pretty much because I got a lot of confidence from that. My sister also gave me my first guitar when I was 8 years old, and this big acoustic that you had a hard time getting your fingers over, but that led to taking lessons. And you know, learning how to play. And I just loved watching the whole thing, you know, really grow. And also a lot of my friends and my brother too, he wanted to play the drums, and we would get in a room together. And you know, the more I practiced, the better I got. And you know, I kept moving on from one person to the next, trying to find somebody that was a little bit more challenging to play with. And by the time I was in high school, we were, you know, playing at lunch and playing the dances, and hell, we were throwing parties every weekend at my house. The house would be full, and we'd be standing on the tabletops playing music. You know, every time my parents left, I'd have a ton of people over there with kegs of beer, and we'd be playing the parties. So yeah, it started pretty damn early. Yeah, I got the itch at a very young age.
Yeah, I can hear lots of influences in your voice. You mentioned Highway to Hell, and it's something that happened with me. I mean, I bunked off school. I was 15 years old. I'm a bit older than you. It was 1979. It was the December the 17th, I think, and I was with this punk friend of mine. I was into punk at the time, and we decided to climb on top of Hammersmith Odeon Roof, which is now called the Eventum Apollo. Fun enough, where my son is tonight, watching some band called Malevolence. And
nice name.
we were on the roof, and the security was obviously quite lax in those days. Climbed down, and this band was pulling up, and the band was AC/DC. And Bon Scott came over. I didn't know who he was at the time, and said to my friend, "Oh, I fucking love your trousers," or something like that. And that's it. I wanted to find out who this band was, so I went back and I borrowed "If You Want Blood" from someone at school. And I thought the record player was on the wrong speed because of his voice. I didn't know, but I just I was intrigued by that, and it set me on the way. I turned from punk to rock, and then with that same venue, I got to see Motorhead. I used to rehearse next door to Lemmy. I've met him quite a few times, and the bands that played sax and all those great bands. So I had that upbringing, and I love that, and I love that. Really exciting times, and it was just listening to some of your stuff and hearing. You got a track called Voices, which I think is amazing. What a song that is. Tell me the story behind that.
Thank you so much. Just going back to the If You Want Blood, that was one of the records that I was like, and not just because of the music. I mean, you put the music on and then you stare at that cover, and then the back cover with the guitar and the blood
through him like that. Yeah.
You know, people think they're so you know, groundbreaking today with their horror and stuff and their videos, but it's like, you know, this was there from the very beginning. You know what I mean? Ozzy and AC, stuff like that. So yeah, definitely a high speed journey down that road if you caught those records in the beginning, like we did. So I share that with you, my brother. Voices, it's crazy. There's the last few years have really been influenced by my father, which is incredible. And it's a combination of a couple of things. My buddy Rob, who always went, yeah. It's like he's kind of came on board again, the Motorhead connection. We were playing the Motorboat Cruise with Slayer and Anthrax and Motorhead. Wow. That was like 2015. The band had just been born, and Lemmy had just expressed his interest in backing the band. So they threw us on this boat, and here's this dude Rob, who's you know, just out there to have a great time. He's, you know, wearing his freaking briefs. You know, he's just this wild, crazy cat. You know, these like tit floaties, these, you know, bouncing around the boat, just completely naked, practically, just wild as fuck. And he always would go, yeah. And as soon as he met us, he invited us later. We were coming through his town, and he invited us to his restaurant. So we played his restaurant, and then we stayed the night in our RV and in his home, just there in Washington, PA. But that night he expressed, you know, a desire to get involved with the band, and he's been involved ever since, helping out with whatever he could. But he's just been a huge motivator and enabler of the band to keep going. So I kind of wanted to write something for him. So he snuck in there. There's a line, almost in every line, there's a yeah in there, right? So it's like, so lyrically he's in there with that, but the song also took on a lot of meaning. My father was going through a lot of things. It looked like he was starting to head towards the end. And the song is kind of like a salute to like not being afraid to pass over to the other side. And as we recorded the song, I actually got the news that my father was being put in the hospital due to COVID. So the lyrics really popped out at that point. The final touches were put on that song, and it was kind of like a serenade to the Reaper, basically, just kind of like the voices in your head, you know, listening to the call and not being afraid and being proud of who you are. And yeah.
I felt that. I felt that listening to it, and it kind of spoke to me. Sometimes when you listen, obviously, you know, you write lyrics yourself and you listen, you love to get behind what someone or find out the reason. It's nice to hear you say that, because that's kind of the feeling that I got, and it's very powerful. Sometimes you'll put a song on and it just speaks to you and you can't explain why, but you connect with it. And I really connected with that song. So, you know, 10 out of 10, you got what you wanted from that. And you know, there's someone here in dear old sunny, blighty England listening to it going, wow, I connect with that. That's the beauty of music, I think. No, as a band, I mean, obviously COVID came at a very, very bad time for you, really. You were just starting to go. You played Wacken, didn't you? I think a couple of times, and it was all going really well for you.
First of all, I really appreciate you saying what you did, man. All the respect in the world coming from a guy like you to a guy like me about that. It's just, wow. It's mind blowing. Yeah, Wacken I did a couple of times, of course. Again, thanks to Lem, you know, the whole UDR, Silver Lining, Motorhead Music Foundation was all created through the Wacken, you know, through Jens and everybody else that's involved there, the family. But COVID turned out to be, it's like it was the craziest blessing. I mean, as it took my father towards the end, I almost felt like I got through the whole thing without a scratch, so to speak, because, you know, I was forced into a job that I didn't see before, and the job ended up kicking out like 16,000 a month, which enabled me to keep creating not only 2 trips out to see our new producer, but enough to retain our attorney who I'd wanted to work with forever. All the videos that you see were kind of a blessing of this job that I had to take on as necessity, you know, to being kicked out of another one. So the band really came together. We spent a lot of time together, you know, safely, but also online and everything else. We all just started really kicking ideas because we were all forced to be in solitude. So we all started getting very creative and turning to our art and our music. So we started sharing all of these ideas back and forth with each other. And before we knew it, we had this handful of material, you know, a lot of material to go and record where we wanted to. So I believe we were still, we were already in lockdown, well into lockdown, 6-7 months worth of lockdown by the time we had enough material to go and see Matt Good, who had been recommended by that attorney who I've been dying to my entire career. And so it was a blessing. It was just like, you know, the funds didn't stop. We were actually blown away with how much money we had to play with, how much creativity we were allowed to enable in each other, inspire each other, and then to work diligently at like releasing our best material ever. That's
interesting. I mean, as a band, we sort of found we were playing covers gigs. That's what we were doing, just all around the circuit, like 70 gigs a year, earning a living. And I've been in the industry a long time, but you know, it forced us to start write some original material because we had nothing else to do. And I think that it's quite interesting what the sort of creativity that came. There are people who say and people who do. That was a big advice that someone once told me. There are people who sit around and just be feeling sorry for themselves, but there are people who used it to be creative, to use that space, to use that time out, to embrace everything that was around them. I've got newfound respect for trees and for birds as well, you know. I mean, anything that can shit on you from such a great height, you've got to respect anyway. But I love that time to be able to write. And listening to the lyrics of the songs that you've done and the more recent stuff that you've got coming out, you can really hear that. You can really hear, I think, within you're quite a spiritual person. I think your second album, was it called Spiritual Violence or something like that? Did I get that right? Yeah.
Do you write your own lyrics yourself?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a poet. I've published author and got another book coming out about a band I was in during the 90s. It's another story. But I've always written lyrics. I come from the school of I love performing. You probably you're talking about the great performers like Ozzy and that. I was at Donington in '84 and I saw probably the best lineup I think I've ever seen of frontmen, if you like. Having Ozzy, having Dave Lee Roth, you had Gary Moore there, you had Accept, you had Motley Crue, but to have that whole then headline by AC/DC, and everyone was saying, well, would AC/DC take it, or would Van Halen be the band there? And Ozzy just came on and just said, "Fucking let's go crazy," and he just won the crowd in the afternoon, and it was just that kind of was the inspiration. I think it doesn't really matter what people's expectations are. You go on there and if you write your own things and you be your own person, your own persona, you can win. I was saying, Gladiator, win the crowd and you shall win your freedom. And are you not entertained? So that's kind of the school I come from. So I love it when I chat to frontmen like you, and I see that, and I see that in other people, and using the inspiration that they've had. So moving on from that, I've got an idea of your writing process. I think you've done a lot of work with other bands, and you've worked with a lot of other sort of performers as well. Just tell me a bit about that, some of the experiences of some of the bands you've played for and some of the people you've worked with.
Going back, probably one of the biggest confidence builders. I remember the first time talking about Ozzy, Ozzy and Lemmy would collaborate all the time, so the first time I was invited, to the back of the bus to, Lemmy invited me back there and shared some of his lyrics and asked me to give him his opinion and what would I change. And we sat there kind of collaborating on a few things that ended up on the Black Magic record. And that was just something I was, if you can sit down and write lyrics with Lem, I don't feel like there's anybody on the planet that will ever freak me out, or, you know what I mean? It gives me the confidence to approach basically anybody. And then the coolest thing of all too is that, his demeanor and the way he was, it's like the second anybody is fake or false or like, about themselves, it really stands out after seeing his example, constantly over and over again. And I'll say the same about Steven Adler too. Working with Steven was just a dream come true. I'd been completely rejected by Axl Rose when I first met him, and I was a huge Guns N' Roses fan coming into Los Angeles.
You're not alone there.
The story has been, I've told it a few times, but he just basically embarrassed me in front of a few people for having the Guns N' Roses tattoo, which in turn had me go to the tattoo shop just before jamming with Slash the first time and getting it covered up so that would never happen again. But getting to know Steven, he was so down to earth and such a beautiful, loving, wonderful, welcoming human being. Talking to him time and time after that, he expressed that like that's something he would have never done. He would have, sat down and bought me a drink probably at that time, if we were both drinking, both of us fighting for our sobriety. Now I've got 17 years and Steven's doing pretty damn well himself. So, so that's kind of what I take away with working with, legends like that. It's just, it's what makes them legends to me is how they treat other people. And that I think in turn feeds my lyrics and my purpose. Like, I'm sure it's like our lyrics are lessons unto ourselves about who we are and what we really want to say and what we've been through and what we went through it for. What does it all mean? I think that's clearly seen through our lyrics. So making them as less superficial as possible, I think you really got to tell the truth. I'm always impressed, even when it's less words and it's not so fancy. If it really, sometimes you can just say so much with one word or two words, or just titling a song. Like we have one song called The Truth, and it's just basically, at that moment in time, it was like, what am I trying to express? And what do I want from life? Is the truth. So when I find people that are willing to share that, I really respect that. And that's why I respect Steven. I respect Lem so much. I'm trying to think of the other people that I've, just the other night, I have probably my biggest love affair as far as vocals go currently living is Emily Armstrong. Do you know who she is?
Yes.
From Dead Sarah. I can't tell you what a ride. I mean, I put on their music, especially the latest record, and I'm always so stoked when I fall in love with a band. And then they went through a phase where it's like, I kind of like this album better than the next one, but something that's better than any of it ever has been. and the stuff just puts me in a mood. It puts me like on a mission. Like, it's like you almost have a conversation with God, and then you either leave the house or you keep listening to it as you leave. And, you have this energy going into conversations and the people you run into. But I met her at the whiskey, and she was just so cool and open and down to earth and, egoless. And I was just like, damn, I'm so stoked, because you don't want to meet your heroes a lot of the times.
Yeah.
But this one was awesome. I collaborate with her. But,
and you work with Carla Harvey, the Butcher Babes, as well.
Oh, hell, yeah, she's a total badass. Her and
I met Lena Scissorhands of Infected Rain out in the Czech Republic. She was telling me about her. Yeah, so yeah, it sounds like a while. But I mean, I'm jealous of you in the sense that having the Whiskey a Go-Go and all those places, the Hollywood scene, and having that. I mean, obviously, as you said, you've gone sober now, so I can probably tell that you've had some pretty wild stories which you can't tell about your early days. But it's so nice to hear you say that. I've met a lot of famous people or legends or people, and the people that always impress me are the ones like yourself who just tell it like it is, who just want to be as natural or make someone feel as relaxed as they possibly can. I say I'm not very impressed by fame or money. I'm impressed by someone who knows they've got it or have it, but it's something within. It's a charisma, it's an attachment, it's a soulful connection that you can get. And I think when you find it, and I've spoken to a lot of the Axl Rose story, is a fine example. The people I've met, they've just completely dissed me, and I thought, okay, fair enough. And then there are people who are very kind of open arms, and they'll talk to you and they'll give you all the time. I met Lemmy on about 4 or 5 occasions. The first time I made a fool of myself, so I was so determined the next 3 times that I'd be as close to being myself and natural as I possibly could. And you're absolutely right. He's straight down the line, and a really nice guy. What I wanted to move on to is Budderside. Where's the name come from?
It's just one of those things. It's that it was kind of like I think the actual original thought process was that this is impossible. Like, to be the 1 in a million artist that makes it is already so crazy. And I've had this crazy prayer or this crazy prayer my whole life. I've always wanted to have like the most impossible story, because I want the climax, the ending, the message, the punchline to be so profound that it stands out above all others. And I finally gotten to the point in life where I'm like, okay, I think we've got it, because there's been so much hardship and anger and frustration and pain, that I think it's about time that a band that is so, we're just not about that. It's as much as it is about image, I put on the makeup, but it's a total nod again to like Ozzy Osbourne. It's a nod to darkness. It's a nod to, I don't know. I feel like the whole goth character brings out like a side of me that's like, it's like the darkness, the light within the darkness. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so surprising to find that the book's cover is misleading on purpose. So trying not to get too far off the beaten path, but the reason the name is stuck around is because it's like, it's the name that, you're not going to take seriously. It's the name that's like, it's kind of like, you see this skinny little scrawny short dude walk into a fight with a muscular, bodybuilder and just whoop his fucking ass. It's like that. It's kind of like the underdog.
David and Goliath. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, it was kind of a joke in the beginning, and now it's like, I watch people like Katie Babbs from Octane saying it doesn't fucking matter what the name means every time she announces us at #1 on the Danny Wimmer countdown, and watching us getting locked into like the Welcome to Rockville festival, playing alongside Slipknot and Tool and all these bands that we've looked up to. It's not really about the name, and that's kind of what I've fought for so long. We've tried a lot of times to brainstorm a better name, and it's like, there's so many names that like sound familiar to me, and they're trying to describe what they are with this name. Like, it's beyond.
No, well, you got 2 bands. I mean, I spoke to Kickin' Valentina the other day. I was speaking to Jimmy Jimmy Burdine, and he told me that they got their name from a fetish porn star who liked to kick guys in the nuts. So they got a name from, which I thought was a great one. And of course, we've
Yeah.
got massive wagons over here, and that's to do with a barmaid with rather large breasts. But I mean, there's various ways you can get a name. But I think you're absolutely right. I think people, well, the Beatles is not the greatest name in the world, is it? But you know, I think we can do that. So,
I mean,
what's happening now? Tell me about the music you got out now. What are you working on? What's coming up?
Sam, by the way, Sam Bam Colton always says that when they ask him that, I wish I had a one-line answer for the name of the band. You know what I mean? It would make the interviews a lot shorter. But he, all of the good names were taken. You know, but I like our name. It stands out. It definitely stands out.
No, I like it.
What's going on now is we've just taken on new management, which I'm super excited about. A guy named Brendan Friesen has finally jumped on board again, brought to me indirectly, but definitely part of the same family. That attorney that I was telling you I've had a huge respect for so many years. So it's like all the pieces are kind of, you know, they always seem to be right when you think you have a lot of pieces and enough to paint the picture, you get more pieces and the picture gets bigger. So in comes this guy. He brought the Who, the band the Who, not the HU, you know, the Mongolian group that did the Metallica cover, and they were in a Star Wars video game. Anyway, he brought them over from China and built them from the ground up. So he's had tons of success doing something like that. He's currently also managing a band called The Haunt, which I have a lot of respect for. This young firecracker singer and her band, her brother. They're just full of energy and, you know, really cool band. I think they're really going to make a mark for themselves. And he's doing really well bringing them up. He's also Billy Ray Cyrus's manager. So I feel like we're in really good hands. Our attorney feels really good about it. So we're excited to see what we do together. And there's some interesting other things coming in. I can't really speak out of turn, but enough to make you feel like all of our dreams are coming true this year, you know. So
that's what we want to hear. And you can come to the UK, to dear old Blighty, come over and see us. You can come play over in Europe.
That's definitely part of the plan. Yeah, I mean, world domination is part of the plan. This guy knows how to get us there. I think we've got some people behind us that are gonna, you know, there's nothing can stop us this year. Is basically
excellent. Well, can you do me a favor? If you come over here and you play Hammersmith Odie's, now the Eventum Apollo, and you need a support band, please give us a call, because I was told as a kid that I would never play there, and I haven't actually played there yet. So before I go, I need to play there once, even if it's just like 2:30 in the afternoon when the cleaners are in. I have to play there once. So just don't forget me when that happens. All right, that would be great.
We will support each other, my friend. Yeah,
that's what it's all about. So going back to material, I was listening to you know, is it 3 albums you've got out now?
We're basically in the middle of releasing the third. You know, the new I guess the new model is and it seems to be working. If we release a single and you don't record just, you know, you don't go for a group of songs anyway, you release something about every 6 to 8 weeks, and that keeps, you know, the punches swinging, so that like everybody, you keep everybody's attention. You don't just put out an album and let it sink. You know, this way we're going to put out basically an album's worth of material, and then at the end we'll put it together as a compilation and release it as maybe as a vinyl, or, you know, as an album. And that will you know, that keeps you going, that keeps you constantly creating. You know, you always want a video and a lyric video and all of this stuff, so it really gives each song the attention that it deserves. So that's what we're up to. Yeah. So
that's brilliant. That's a fantastic mantra and attitude. Now, so I know that you don't drink and you've been sober for a long time. So what does Patrick do in his spare time? How does he unwind from music? What does he do?
I don't even, you know, unwind. I don't even, it's like I'm so wound up. All I want to do is wind up tighter, you know? Yeah, I'm just going constantly. I mean, over Christmas, I spent time with family. I love doing that. I love to spend time with my close friends. You know, which I'm very grateful that I can, you know, I maybe I have 2 or 3 that I consider like really, really close. And I think I'm blessed to have that many. And I just run out and I get with them every chance I get, and they're doing the same. So that's really it. You know, and even that, you know, I've surrounded myself with people that are in the industry and people I respect. So even downtime, even unwinding time, you find is actually geared towards the ultimate goal, your purpose, you know. So it's like, I have to, I'll give a little shout out. I don't mean to drop names, but I'm so blessed to have my best friend, Matt Pinfield, who's been in the industry forever. And he's like the 2 degrees of separation, but we found a true bond through not only sobriety, but, our love for music and everything else. And, we have a lot of the same worldview. So he lives about 3 blocks away. It's like, you get hungry. Hey, you hungry? We go out, we go hang. And that's pretty much it, really. I mean, it's like, it's not boring. Don't get me wrong. I still have plenty of, I get into plenty of trouble. I have a lot of fun, being myself. I definitely take time out to do, extracurricular activities, but for the most part, dying to get back to the music, whether it's an interview like this, I live for stuff like this, and just really, even chiming in on the comments and on posts about our music and stuff like that, and connecting with new fans or old fans. I really find that my unwinding, it's like really, really.
That's good. I've just actually sent you a Facebook request. I've just found you on there. So I've sent you one. So I'll be checking in on you from now on.
Yeah.
I think you're a lovely fella. I'm really pleased. I mean, Helen speaks so highly of you, and she was very excited. So can I come on? I said, yeah, of course you can. I've only started doing these interviews for Rock Media for about a few months now. I just got on board. I just wanted to talk to her because I love to hear stories. I love to hear people talk about stuff, and it's nice for me to chat about it. I've got lots to say, and I do that in my own music and what I do. But just to hear your stories and to be where you are right now, I'm quite excited. This week I'm speaking to Dave Evans, the first singer of AC/DC, about his experiences in the 50th year. I'm also speaking to Glenn Matlock of the Sex Pistols as well later in the week, and then I've got to do my Femme Fatale month, where I'm talking to all the girls from girls' school to Beth and the Blades, all loads of people from all around. So I have to mind my P and Qs for that. But sometimes they swear more than I do. But so you're going to work on the 3rd album. You'll get that finished. You'll come over to Europe. Everyone in the UK can check you out. Where do I send everyone now who's looking at this video? Where do I send them to check you out? Go to your website?
I would say, our website, or our YouTube channel. If you spell it correctly, you won't find anything else, because who's crazy enough to call themselves Budderside? But it's Budderside. We have a Budderside.com and the Budderside YouTube channel, Instagram. Everything's just, it's right there. So if you want to reach
guys,
us,
you've got to check them out. They are a truly awesome fucking band. The music it's got so many influences in there. It's powerful. I've got my favorite voices. I'm just going to say that the truth is great. They're all great songs, but you go and check them out. And we're going to see you very, very soon when you come over, possibly sometime later in the year. And we'll definitely have a glass of water or orange juice, and you could probably tell me about some of your extracurricular activities.
Yeah, for sure. What's the craziest thing you've ever seen in the years that you've been? Let's say
the craziest thing. Oh God, where do I start? I've got a book coming out actually in about a month's time called "You Know You Love It." That was being in an outmoded 80s metal band during the grunge revolution, when on my birthday Kurt Cobain blew his brains out. So it was kind of a bit like, where do we go from here? Nobody wanted to see us play. Nobody wanted us to go, so we were going around doing that. And just as I'm talking to you, my wife's just walked in the room, so I have to sort of refrain from what I was going to say. caught out. But anyway, the octopus's lips are sealed, so he's not going to say anything, and everyone else will keep quiet about it. But just suffice to say, the female hockey team did very well that season.
All right.
Listen, Patrick, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time.